After a hectic day of reaction racing at the 2020 F1 in Schools World Finals, we look back and get the reactions of multiple teams and explore more about the competition on this, the third episode of Trackside by Off the Track. Hello and welcome to this episode of Trackside. Today I'm joined by multiple teams and other members of the podcast. So George Stoner, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi there.
And we've got Marcus Vetter.
Hey there.
Obviously myself, Michael, and we're joined today by Keris Racing.
Hi, we are Team T08 from Malaysia, Keris Racing. I'm Irina Wanzold.
Hello, I'm Arkalish.
I'm the team's resource manager, Wen Christina.
I'm the team's graphic designer, Imai Noraina.
Spark.
Hi, my name is Kevin. I am the chief engineer from Spark.
We've got Bolt.
So hi, I'm George. I'm the research and communications director of the team.
Hi, I'm Andreas, and I'm the designer, engineer, and the leader of the team.
And Square Q.
So I'm the team manager, Roma.
Hello, I'm Gareth, the community and communication manager.
And I'm Leo, the marketing and finance manager.
We would like to thank them all for taking time out of their busy schedules to talk to us. So today, guys, we went through reaction racing. We saw a lot of movement in that leaderboard. Prismatic is still leading if you look at fastest times. But Quintilux, they seem to have really performed well today. George?
Yeah, so we saw Quintilux improving their fastest time, but also we've done some analysis and we've worked out some provisional scores of points that teams will earn from the racing. So the way the system works for the points is you take the second, third, fourth, and fifth fastest times of all of your runs, and you find an average of those. And actually, when we do that to the data, what we find is that Quintilux are actually the fastest car. Currently, I mean, there are factors we don't know, so we don't know how the teams have done on the performance and safety points regulations, which can prevent them from winning awards such as fastest car. But this information is quite interesting.
So, Marcus, you yesterday internally released a spreadsheet that had a comparison of the times throughout the last 5 years. And looking at that, the top 6 times, if we look at just fastest times, are faster than the fastest from last year. So what do you think of that?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, it's great effort for the team, so well done by you guys. And I guess it's just like we're in another development period because R&D results often based on previous results, so you just start to develop by first of all taking previous testing results. As the regulations didn't change that much, this might help. And something that's really important to know is a lot of teams probably got performance out of making thinner front wheels, so you have less rotational energy and the car is easier to accelerate.
And I think there's some good insights coming up from the live stream that we watched today. So, addressing yesterday's episode, we had some speculating, George, Lawrence, and I, with Marcus, about the Spark rear wing and how it was flexible. And so we got to speak to Spark about why they chose to do what they did, and we'll have a look later at what the F1 in Schools HQ suggest as a possible remedy as well. It looks like we've had them take 2 different approaches, so let's see what Spark had to say about that.
Yeah, so the rear wing was a little bit of an issue during our national finals, mainly because it's weaker, so during the braking, this can break off and fly away. So we think like how we can improve the materials and how we can improve the design. So we have redesigned it, prototyped, and we have done this wing. So the main idea behind it, it's like during the braking process, the wing will turn but not brake.
these are flexible, so it can flex behind, back. It can flex back, so it's a little bit forced behind. But after that, this came back to the normal, so we can have a pretty consistent rear wing and a pretty consistent car.
So, George, we saw that it was flexible, and you yourself commented on how flexible it was during scrutineering, but it doesn't seem to have helped them very much because they've still had rear wing issues. So, where do you think this implementation went wrong?
Yeah, I mean, their theory makes sense because if you look at the total energy that an object can absorb before braking, if you look at it on a stress strain curve, the more strain it can withstand, which is basically how much it can stretch. So if it's more flexible, it will stretch more. You'll actually increase the amount of energy you can absorb before the material fails. So theoretically, flexible wings or componentry could make cars tougher, so they could and withstand the impacts better. However, teams should be careful because flexible wings are not meant to be allowed, but this is a thing that's ruled at the judge's discretion. So it's hard to tell where the limit is on how flexible a wing can be. I think possibly what we saw with the reason their wing was very flexible was because to help make it flexible, the material they used wasn't very thick, and so possibly it just couldn't survive the stress that was placed on it from its impact.
You think it was the mounting points of the wing on the car, where the flexible material met the more inflexible material?
Yeah, so the wing supports, I think from looking at the live stream, seemed to be where the wing was breaking, and those were generally the thinnest parts on the wing.
And so Gary Anderson and the team have come up with, well, they came up with suggestions a long time ago, but in this season, no one seems to have taken the hints that they left peppered throughout the regulations. So they pointed out that in the regulations, the wings are shown to have mounting points that have magnets that are used to mount them. And so the idea is that they can detach slightly from the car and then return back to their position when all of the braking is finished. And I think that's an idea that certainly has some merit. George and Marcus, do you think this is a better solution? And what do you think the challenges are with implementing this kind of system on a car?
Yeah, of course, it's I guess a pretty good solution, and yeah, I'm really keen to see if next year probably some teams will take up the hint. The problem with applying too flexible materials and stuff, we saw it didn't work that well. Is probably you can't really FEM analyze stuff too well because it starts wobbling and moving a lot during the deceleration progress, and the magnetic system is probably very good if teams get to develop an aerodynamic shape and manufacture magnets in the right way. I guess we could probably see teams doing a big innovation in this kind of area and improve on performance, and of course the important fact that they're more consistent in the future.
Marcus, you mentioned FEA, finite element analysis, correct, earlier?
Yes.
Yes, just wanted to clarify that for those listening who aren't aware.
Yeah, so we have seen magnets used before. I believe they were used by one team from Mexico in the 2016 World Finals. And I mean, the advantage is if they fall off, then they can just be quickly reattached.
But if they fall off, does that count as a breakage?
Well, if they fall off at the end of the track, teams have 30 seconds. This year it's Gary trying to fix them in 30 seconds to put their cars back together. And if they can be done in that 30 seconds, which is very achievable when you just have to stick two magnets back together, then the teams don't lose any penalty points.
No, I think, given that, magnets are a very, very promising idea for front and rear wings. With that out of the way, these magnets might have addressed some of the durability issues we've been seeing at the competition. They've been quite persistent, with it being the same with the reaction racing today. We've seen lots of issues. Persist Racing were subject to quite a lot of issues with their car. It stopped down the track halfway, and my heart goes out to them. They had a really tough time yesterday. So what do you think is going on with the car there?
Persist Racing were performing quite well yesterday, getting some track times down, but I think maybe just the impacts of when they hit the deceleration system had just damaged the car a bit, and it just meant that it couldn't perform as well, which is why it was getting some DNFs.
Yeah, I think they had a lot more runs than most teams because they had a couple of DNFs and they had to rerun a couple of races. So that's definitely contributed to that. We also spoke to Keris Racing today. I think everyone will remember the car that had its front fall off. So yeah, we spoke to them, and they seem to have very high spirits for a team whose car has suffered some what we would consider to be fairly major damage. Let's have a listen to what they had to say.
Oh yeah, that's very unfortunate. But yeah, maybe Kalish can talk a little bit more. He is the design engineer of the team.
Yeah, I think the breakage during the race, our car actually snapped in half. The nose actually broke, and I think that's my fault because I designed the car to have a little air resistance in front, so making the car nose very slim and long. I think that's what caused it to actually break. So that's my fault. I can learn from that.
Yeah, we definitely pushed the limits a little bit too much there, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, well, the competition is always all about pushing the limits, and
Yeah.
I think we've all had cars that are broken before. So
But we're definitely researching it and seeing how we can improve the next time around. So it's all about learning, honestly.
yeah, so are you guys thinking about competing next year in the competition?
Well, this competition is a long-term investment. If not us, then our future teams from our schools will definitely need that research.
Okay, so listening to your interview with them, George, it seems like they are really intent on learning from their mistakes, and I think that is absolutely inspirational. They seem to be very high spirits considering what's happened, and they just want to learn and to pass that on to the next generation. And that kind of intergenerational learning, I think, is what really makes countries and schools good with F1 in schools. The ability to transfer the knowledge from one generation to the next not only helps the competition for that country and that school, but it helps the students transferring the knowledge to solidify it as well. George, what did you take from that?
They were a really nice team to speak to. They were really positive, and you could see their engineer taking responsibility for their car braking. But it is something that we all see. I'm sure, like all of us have had cars braking. It is just something when you push the limits. And this competition really is all about pushing the limits.
Yeah, probably you could see they're more mature and probably deal with problems like this better than real engineers, because look at F1, probably some drivers or some engineers often don't take responsibility for their own faults as good as they did. So like, hats off to you guys.
That is a very good point, Marcus. I think you've hit the nail on the head with that one. That is a very mature response from a team. So, Keris, despite the disappointment with that, I think they were still happy with the performance of their car. With all that positivity and maturity, they've really done some good material science as well. George, I know you mentioned when you were doing scrutineering that their wheels felt very solid.
Yeah, so what they'd done was they'd used some carbon fiber when on their wings. So they'd reinforced their 3D prints with a carbon weave and resin. So that was it helped make their wings a lot stronger. And
yeah, and when you spoke to them earlier, they explained the whole process for us. So let's take a listen to that.
Method or the process of how we incorporated carbon fiber into our car was actually a tedious one, and it lasted a few weeks. It's because it's very technical, but to explain it in short and brief way, we did a resin wrapping method where we first 3D printed our car components as normal, and then we mixed a 2-to-1 ratio of resin to hardener, applied that to the surface of the car components, and then put a sheet of carbon fiber material, and then applied some hardener to it again as well, and then let it cure, and then sanded it down and polished it as well. But we did this repeatedly, so it was kind of a long process, but still worth it in the end.
And I think that we all agree that that's some good materials engineering there. Marcus?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's more than just looking what our teams have used in the past. It's not like we're going to 3D print and probably just look what kind of rapid prototyping methods are used in the competition. It's just like looking further of F1 in schools, prototyping and manufacturing methods. And I guess this also is a pretty good feature, and I hope they'll build up on that and improve the method in the future.
It really is a great idea. George, do you think this is going to affect the future of wing and wheel design in the competition?
yeah, I think it could, because carbon fiber is a material we see in Formula One, because it's so light, but it has such good strength characteristics. And normally it's associated with a very high cost of manufacturing. And whilst we did see that they were talking about how it takes some time expense, the method they used to create their carbon fiber was a lot cheaper than creating custom molds and baking your carbon fiber. So that's a really impressive method, and we might see it more often as it's more accessible to more teams.
I think certainly we're going to see an increase in this kind of manufacturing in the future. It's really displays some out-of-the-box thinking from Keras Racing. A new team to the F1 in Schools finals, a new country to the F1 in Schools finals for the first time in over a decade. We have Square Q from France. They are competing for the first time ever. They haven't gone to a state finals, they haven't gone to a nationals or a regionals like all the other teams have. And it's just really impressive to see the performance that they've got just out of the gate. So we spoke to them earlier today. George, do you think it's impressive how well they've done?
It's great to see a team doing so well, and when we look at their race results, we see that they from our early analysis look to be 18th out of 43 teams. So that's incredible for a new coming team. So France may very well be a country that we look to for lots of successful teams in the future.
Yeah. So let's have a listen to what Square Q had to say when Marcus spoke to them earlier today.
It's a large better than our expectation, because, like I said, as I said just before, we didn't made as much as we could make in terms of test, and so we didn't really know what the car will do on the race. She did very well, and so we are very happy for that. Today we are against a Greek team, which was the first team yesterday. They did the best race time on the track, so we expect again the best. Like my mate said just before, we did a pretty good race reaction time.
And so, Marcus, that they mentioned two things there. They haven't tested their car on a track, it sounds like, and yet they're getting such fast results. What do we make of that?
Yeah, like watch out, guys. I guess the French teams are coming.
They are.
Because it's just the beginning and they're so motivated. They're just so happy to be there and so blessed. So I guess it's just shows how great the competition is, that even like newcomers can achieve such great things just by hard work. And yeah, I guess we got a lot watch out for France because it's a country with big car industry and all the other stuff, so they can gain on another knowledge, get a big network in the future. Yeah, I guess watch out, guys.
Yeah, there looks like there are going to be some rising stars there. We spoke to teams about international language barriers earlier today because obviously the whole world speaks hundreds of different languages, and Spark had some interesting suggestions when we spoke to them earlier about how they learn English. We only got to speak to their engineer. He has some interesting ideas on how to learn English and maintain a good level of fluency, and also on maybe if you don't have great English, how you can assist your communication skills non-verbally. So let's have a listen to what he had to say.
Yeah, the problem here from the language is because we mainly don't have any experience with English. My experience, as an example, I play so much video games, so I was like forced to talk in English with the other gamers. So I learned it there. But if it was with my school, I probably wasn't be able to speak a sentence here. But it's really difficult, primarily because some judges or some peoples have different way to talk something. So sometimes it's really difficult to understand, but we always try to talk really slower and to like use the universal talking, like the gestures and how we can communicate, not using only the speaking, but the other ways.
So, Marcus, you're speaking a second language right now as you talk to us because you're from Germany. Are you much of a gamer?
Yeah, kind of. Probably just all started with Minecraft and then moved on to other games. So I guess stuff like this could help you out, especially if you're from Brazil or Cyprus or other countries where English isn't teach in that way in school like in Germany, because I've been learning English for approximately 10 years. Probably you can't hear it, but yeah, I'm trying.
No, I think we definitely can hear it. And you also spoke to Square Q today, and they said that there's a lot of resistance to people learning English in France. So let's have a listen to what they had to say.
Yes, in France, it's very different with the other countries because we have
Lessons.
we have lessons of English, but we don't talk anymore English in our country. In Malaysia or Australia, Malaysia, China, they speak English a lot, practices a lot, and in France it's very different. So in the competition, it was a bit difficult to answer to different questions, to yes to
But what do you think about my English? Is it too bad?
I think we can all agree that their English is very good, considering that unlike yourself, Marcus, they haven't had, or the rest of us for that matter, the benefit of years of schooling in English.
Yeah, their English is definitely better than our French, so we can all agree on that. So
yes, absolutely. I don't know about you, George. How's your French?
My French is pretty bad.
So Marcus, did you think this presented your team with a big difficulty at the World Finals?
yeah, first of all, I mean you get into it. It's just like you start writing English text. You start to get like English specific terms for engineering and stuff. And as you start to do research in English, as you start to probably do team meetings in English to improve your ability to speak English freely with judges and all the other teams, you kind of get into it. But I'm really gonna state that all of our team members have been learning English in school for a long time, and so we have a basic advantage to all the other non-native speakers that come from countries where English isn't taught in school in the same way. So yeah, so probably it's difficult for all of the international teams not from the English speaking countries, but I guess it even differs in between those teams. Yeah, apparently from which educational system they're from.
I think you provided some great insight there, Marcus. Thank you. So we just looked at the language barriers that prevent sometimes maybe teams expressing themselves as well as they'd like to, but there's also a lot of international differences between the local competitions and the competitions that take place on the world stage. So we spoke to Bolt about the differences from Cyprus to Worlds, and I think it's a very insightful interview. Let's have a listen.
So of course it is quite overwhelming to think that you're going up against the best in the world and the best in each country, and you're going up so much competition, and it does feel a bit daunting at times, but it's more this rewarding feeling that, oh, I finally made it. I'm representing my country. I'm getting this happiness that shows that my efforts have finally paid off. So I feel that it is at times overwhelming, but it is also really rewarding to feel that, oh, I've made it somewhere, and I'm gonna make my mark on the Formula One in schools in some way. And it does differ from the national competition. Of course, we did not do it due to COVID this year. However, it does differ from it. It exposes you to more teams, more diversification by meeting people from different nations, from different places around the world. So it's a really rewarding experience in my opinion.
And Marcus, I think we can both agree that F1 in schools has been a very rewarding experience for all of us, actually, George included. But did you think that the world competition provided you with more insights and more choice of ideas than just your local competitions?
Yeah, in general, I mean, any competition is really fun or has been really fun for me personally, and I'd never regret to compete at all. And yeah, one point they mentioned as well is like the F1 in school stage is really getting big when it comes to international competitions, because then you don't really have, from the organizer standpoint, you don't really have to take care of beginners, and you really have to give the the best teams in the world just a stage to shine and to present, and so you can have like a lot of more competition elements, as in the national finals. So it's probably more fun, but also more exhausting, as you have to do a lot more work.
It is really the best of the best. And Spark provided some insight into their local competitions. Let's listen to that interview now.
Yeah, it's really, really difficult because there are some differences between the competition here in Brazil and in the World Finals. An example, it's like here in Brazil, we are judged by the social actions, specifically on the social actions that's like a judging for this. And the rules and how the tournament goes here, it's a little bit easier. I will not say like it's easier, but it's not at the high level at the World Finals.
So we just heard there that they are judged on social interactions as well. So that's something that you don't really have to consider as much at the World Finals, I think, George. Social interactions outside of judging, not really that judged, is it?
No, it's not normal.
Yeah, I mean probably it comes into the judging, and you probably get more points if you're a more outstanding team concerning interaction, being more social, being probably even more extrovert. But I guess there's no judging category for that on international stage, as far as I know.
F1 in schools, we all hear that it's a great competition. I think we all experience how great of a competition it is. But looking to your futures as students now and what you want to do, I think all of us can agree that F1 in schools has affected our lives in a very big way and definitely guided where we're going to go. Do you think you agree with that statement, George?
Yeah, it's had a massive impact on my life, I think, because you come in thinking you're expecting to learn mostly STEM skills, but you come out with much more from the communication and teamwork and enterprise and collaboration skills that you develop.
And Marcus, would you say
Yeah, of
similar
course.
things to
I'd agree totally. I mean, it kind of sounds harsh, but by doing stuff, different team roles, trying yourself in F1 schools, you don't only learn what you want to do later on, you also learn what you don't want to do. So personally, I found probably I want to do something more marketing based, something more communication based, or probably something more engineering based. And so you can figure out by yourself what kind of career you're aiming for. And personally, F1 in schools had a massive impact on my interested in engineering and motorsports as well. So
we spoke to Keris earlier as well, and we spoke to Spark and Square Q as well, and they've all got really good insight into their plans for the future and how F1 in schools has affected that. So I think Keris has a very good example of what has affected them. Let's listen to their engineer now.
Yeah, as for me, at first I didn't really know that I had an interest in engineering at all. But through this competition, I actually found out that I really had a lot of interest in engineering. So I think that's what I'm gonna pursue in the future, and maybe work for Formula one day. I don't know.
And so, George, were you into engineering before F1 in schools?
I mean, I've been interested in engineering for a long time, but actually before the competition, I really thought I wanted to become an architect. But just the exposure to engineering and learning and developing skills in it made me realize that I really enjoyed it. And now I'm studying engineering at university.
I think that that the parallels between those two stories there is a powerful indicator of how good a program F1 in schools is. Spark's engineer also had something to say about how it's affected his views on where he's going to go to college. So let's have a listen.
I hope like this experience it's very important for me. Mainly, I want to do like international programs or international colleges. And the engineering area that I am responsible, it's like something that I love.
And I think that exposure, from the sound of that interview, exposure to the international flavour of F1 in schools at the World Competition would certainly have an effect on your view of international colleges. Would you agree, Marcus?
Yeah, competing in F1 in schools probably stops hindering yourself from looking what possibilities are abroad. Yeah, and I really wouldn't consider myself as somebody who says I won't start studying at an international university or go abroad or probably even work abroad, because you just start to get a point of view how like things are done in other countries and how great international networking and communicating is. Yeah, so this helps a lot with getting out of your comfort zone.
Whilst I'm still studying in the UK, for university, I just thought my university UCL is really international, and I've met people from around the world on my course that have taken part in F1 in schools. So I think clearly it does have F1 in schools does give you a very international mindset.
Really broadens your horizons, I think. Yeah. Square Q had a bit of a different outlook on where F1 in schools is going to take you. They focused on how they'd made lots of contacts through the competitions. Let's have a listen to that.
We gain a lot of contacts by doing this event. We met some engineer very interesting in France. Like you maybe don't know, but we met an Alpine engineer in the category LMP2. It's very good in category in France in motorsports. So yes, we some of us hope to get into F1 in the future. We know that it's very hard. It's very hard work, but yeah, it's a goal, and I think all the young people that participating to F1 in schools, it's their goal at the end.
And so that's some really good to hear. Some really good networking on the part of Square Q, building relationships within F1 teams already. Have you guys heard of that kind of stuff in the competition before, George?
I think it's great to see teams making contacts with professionals in motorsport. And it's really impressive. I think usually this is something we see from teams after they've competed at the World Finals. But to see Square Q doing this before, I think will have really helped them in their preparation.
I think you can agree, Marcus, that we can add that to the list of reasons that France and Square Q are definitely a country and team to watch.
Yeah, surely, because I mean, it's all good to do stuff by yourselves, but it's not forbidden, and I guess it helps to think out of the box if you get help from professionals, because I mean they're professionals for a reason, and even our team really did gain profit out of working with professionals, as we worked with some ENSYS engineering, like ENSYS aerodynamic engineers. So probably some of you know ENSYS is software used by F1, Formula E, and all of the other high-performance racing teams. So yeah, they just work on daily basis with this stuff and have an engineering degree, so they can help you out. And as racing is really big in France, they probably can work with that partnership and get successful with it.
Big industry knowledge to draw on, definitely. So guys, I'm been really blown away with what happened yesterday at the competition. It was a great day 2, and we're really looking forward to day 3 here. You guys, what are your expectations for the competition?
Yeah, I'm really keen to see teams in knockout, like even in the virtual format. I guess it's going to be really exciting to compete and to watch, because it's, as it says, knockout. So you gotta win to stay into this part of the competition, and it's always like one of the best feats for the public. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's just, you never know what's going to happen. Like a great team might just have some bad reactions, and that completely changes the dynamic.
It's such a high stakes session, knockouts is. And I think we're going to end today on some wise advice that we got from Team Bolt. I think this is wisdom beyond their years. So thank you everyone for listening. I will let them play us out.
Yeah, of course. The first year is most probably going to be hard. Just keep going at it. Next year is going to get better and better. You learn so many stuff in the first year. I remember in my first year Formula One, I was just a kid, not knowing a single thing about aerodynamics. And by the end, I feel like I could actually bring something to real F1 cars, and like I gained some knowledge that really make cars fast, and keep trying and you'll do better.
Yeah, as you said, never give up. Always learn from your mistakes and just keep pushing until you get where you want to be. And just always keep your spirit high. And whatever you do, you put the best effort you could, and just give it your all.
Thank you for listening to today's recap of the 2020 F1 in Schools World Finals. If you want continued insight and to see interesting developments in real time, follow us on our socials at Off the Track Podcast on Instagram, at Off the Track Pod on Twitter, and our website offthetrack.net. Good luck to all teams, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Trackside is a production of Off the Track Media. F1 in Schools and related marks are trademarks of Formula One licensing, a Formula One group company.